And there's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. First, before we get into the talk, I want to give a little disclaimer that I am not an AI expert. There's a lot of experts out there that I encourage you to watch their presentations and hear about all their knowledge on AI. But I am an accessibility expert. Now you might be wondering, oh, wait, that came a little early. Anyway, but I am an accessibility expert. I swear I am. Anyway, but most of my experience as a developer is mostly been working at Microsoft, where I worked on the account.microsoft.com and all the privacy and account settings there. And I was the accessibility expert in charge of ensuring all of our web components were accessible. These days, I work at Khan Academy, and now I work on math and science widgets and ensuring that they are accessible and robust for all of our learners around the world. Now, you might be curious, why am I talking about not accessibility, AI? A lot of A words in this presentation. But I mostly am talking about AI for today because I get asked about AI all the freaking time. I get asked about this all the time, and it makes sense. AI is a really revolutionary tool and product that we're seeing a lot of really interesting and innovative solutions that utilize AI. And because of all those really interesting applications, a lot of people ask me after my talks about whether AI can be a unique solution for making the web more accessible and more inclusive for more users. So after being asked about it so many times, I decided, you know what? This is a great opportunity to look into AI for myself, look into some of the pros and cons, the good things that have been created, the concerning stuff that's out there, and consolidate that into a larger point, a larger opinion about AI and what it can do for accessibility. So with that, let's dive into this talk a little bit more. But before we get into the more meat of the presentation, I want to talk to you guys about what is AI just as a grounding exercise. So AI, in general, you've probably heard this before, is a simulation of human intelligence by a machine. Sounds pretty straightforward. There are three types of AI out there: narrow AI, general AI, and super intelligent AI. This presentation could easily be a deep dive into each one of these areas, but for the purpose of this talk and for a lot of other talks, we're going to focus on narrow AI, define it, and then explore that a little bit. So narrow AI is a type of AI that performs specific tasks and doesn't really learn more beyond that. But even still, it's able to do a lot of really cool things, such as self-driving cars. A lot of the technology behind self-driving cars uses narrow AI to achieve some of those feats. Also, face recognition technology. And even those really cool AI robots that play chess and beat grandmasters. A lot of these tools utilize narrow AI to achieve those experiences. Now, with a lot of products recently, you've also heard about generative AI. Well, good news is generative AI is a subset of narrow AI with the purpose of generating content based on large amount of data that's trained on. It might seem like it's doing something more broad than narrow AI, but really, generative AI is doing something similar. It's just generating content within a very narrow set range, like generating images, text, or videos. There's a lot of AI applications out there today, and especially generative AI, such as ChatGPT, Copilot from Microsoft, Midjourney that generates images, and Synthesia, which I was not aware of, but it generates videos. So there's a lot of really interesting applications of AI out there that are really emerging and really interesting to dive into. But let's talk a little bit about accessibility. So accessibility simply means the ability to access. Accessibility means creating access to community tools and services that a lot of people within our community use and need to access community resources. You can see accessibility everywhere around you, from the captions on your streaming services and videos, to even the accessibility ramps within buildings. All these are ways that we have created accessible products around us. And as developers, there's a lot of ways that, a lot of accessibility tools that our customers use to interact with the web, such as Braille readers for reading out content on the web, to using screen readers to navigate your website. This is a lot of the areas of which my expertise comes into play, where I work very diligently with our developers to ensure that all of our web content easily interacts and gets plugged into these assistive tools and technologies so more users can utilize our websites. Now, let's move on to the fun part of the presentation. I have a lot of really interesting videos of really cool advancements in AI that are really accessible or really amazing for accessibility, and I'm really excited to share them for you. So, there's been some interesting improvements in text-generated AI, and especially with accessibility. You might be surprised to see ChatGPT up here, but really, if you're like me and hate writing emails, I've been really using ChatGPT to help build and create emails and other writing content within my workday. This is really helpful for a lot of people who use and need aid when writing content, and it lowers the cognitive load of writing whatever email or article you're trying to create. I've also really enjoyed a lot of the meeting summaries that come with a lot of meeting events nowadays. There's a lot of people out there that can't attend meetings, or when they are doing meetings, it's hard to summarize that meeting and process that and use it further down the line. So creating those meeting summaries are really a nice accessible product. But one of the more interesting ones that I really appreciated is a lot of these text-to-speech applications that have been circulating around the web. One of my favorite ones is actually the product Speechify, where if you are someone who doesn't necessarily need a screen reader, but would really benefit from a text-to-speech application, this one might be for you. I don't hear any sound, but yes, I do have ads. Oh, wait.
But I'm a student at Brown University, and I have dyslexia.
Whoop.
I can do some cool things.
Can we hear the video?
Yeah, well,
1 second, technical difficulties.
your sound is not connected to HDMI. You need 3 more feet projectors.
Unplug and replug it in?
Now,
Nah.
subtitles. Can you connect this one?
See. Let's see.
I still have to open the...
Okay. This always happens with presentations. I had a feeling it would happen today.
Hi, I'm Cliff. I'm a student at Brown University, and I have dyslexia. I can do some cool things, but one of the things I can't do very well is read. Being a college student, I get a lot of work thrown my way, and sometimes an inability to read is hard to cope with. Until one day, I discovered text-to-speech. Text-to-speech changed my life. For the first time, I was able to read Wikipedia and enjoy it. I used it to learn how to code. I used it to read Facebook and email. But then I realized that every text-to-speech application I used had major limitations. They didn't go fast enough, they weren't intuitive to use, and they were difficult to configure. So, I built my own software. Introducing Speechify. Speechify uses deep learning to have the best voice possible. It lets you go as fast or as slow as you like. So let me give you a quick tour of how Speechify works. I can use Speechify to have my computer read out anything to me. Using Speechify, I can go through data 3 times faster than I can with normal reading. And it works inside of any application. All I need to do is highlight the text I want to read, and then hit the button at the top of my toolbar.
The company's rapid growth and emphasis on quality ingredients accentuated its competitive disadvantage. The disadvantages in raw material procurement and line scheduling because of difficulty in predicting growth.
With Speechify, I can switch up voices. So now I'm going to switch from an American male voice to an American female voice. But I can also choose a British or Scottish voice, or I can choose to read in a foreign language like French, Spanish, or Chinese. I'm going to use keyboard shortcuts to make things happen a little bit faster. Option A to start reading. So I'll highlight the text that I want, and then hit Option A.
After a short delay for reading, here is the next volatile guidepost.
And now I'm going to hit Option Q to pause. I'm going to hit Option Q again to play.
If you want to procrastinate work for 10 minutes,
This time I'm going to switch up to my email, highlight this text, and release.
Hi Mark, your proposal looks great. Could you meet Wednesday at 3 p.m. at the Starbucks on 10th and Market?
Now, if I have a meeting coming up, and I think I'm late, I can grab any PDF, web page, anything on my computer, and hit Option Z to zap that text as an audiobook to my phone.
Welcome to Speechify. You can use Speechify to listen to your readings for school, reports for work, or books and articles for fun.
Or you can copy any text on your phone and hit the Make Audiobook button.
Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss. On the faraway island of Salamasan, Yertle the Turtle was king of the pond.
You can listen to any book you send. It's the Harry Potter.
Chapter 1, The Boy Who Lived Mr. and Mrs. Dursley. Of number 4, Private Drive. We're proud to say that they were perfect.
And you can go as slow
Very much. They were the
or as fast as you like. As you listen, Speechify also flashes the words that come onto the screen at the same time. This makes it easier for someone to learn how to read to begin with, and it also lets you read more quickly. Speechify started off as a project to help me manage my work, but every time I showed it to somebody else, they asked for a copy. Eventually, I made a YouTube video teaching people in general how to use text-to-speech. 40,000 people watched it, and about 200 people left comments, saying things like, "I am literally crying. This changed my 9-year-old's life." So over the past few months, my team and I have been working really hard to make the best version we can. And now you can use it too, on both your Mac and your iPhone. So, for the college student that didn't finish his reading, but wants to do it on the way to class. For the working professional who has a long commute and wants to get some work done in the car. And for the 10-year-old dyslexic student who's sitting in the back of the class, just trying to cope, like me. Try out Speechify. We built it for you. Because you can do some pretty cool things. Now reading isn't a barrier.
Now, they didn't talk about in the video about their AI capabilities. This is an older video from them. But I really appreciate that it talks about the way you can build more assistive technologies, not just from the both ends of the spectrum, from visual learners to people who are completely blind, but also helping people who have dyslexia have more autonomy when navigating and reading content. Though I will say their AI capabilities are really interesting in that they have like different AI speech patterns for like Gwyneth Paltrow and other actors and artists out there. So it's really kind of cool. Come on, work. Now it doesn't want to work. All right. There we go. Now I got it to work. So another thing I wanted to cover is a lot of the AI advancements in how we process voice. And I really wanted to talk about all the improvements we have to automated captioning technologies. Over the past few years, AI captioning within our videos have gotten more advanced, which makes it so much easier to make so much more video content around the web more accessible. Also, translation tools. As you can tell, I'm an English speaker. I don't know Dutch. So I've been really enjoying the translation tools as I've been navigating around the Netherlands. But also there's been so many improvements to a lot of voice command applications, like voice access and voice control, where users who can't use a mouse or a keyboard can use their voice to make commands on their device, to navigate the web, and go about their normal day. With that, I have another video about voice access, which is really cool, and I encourage you after this presentation to go play around with voice access.
Voice Access by Google is an Android app that lets you use your phone hands-free. Instead of tapping or scrolling, Voice Access lets you speak commands to open apps, write text messages, send emails, and more. If you have Google Assistant set up on your device, you can turn on Voice Access by saying, "Hey Google, Voice Access," or by going into your accessibility settings and selecting Voice Access. If the app isn't showing up, download the latest version from the Play Store. After you turn on Voice Access, a blue bar will appear in the top left corner of your screen. Once you go through the Voice Access tutorial to learn the basics, start experimenting. Say, "Open Gmail," or whatever app you want to open. Need to get back to your home screen? Say, "Go home." To temporarily turn off Voice Access, say, "Stop listening." If you're online shopping, you can search for whatever items you need by saying "Search for" and the name of the product. When you find what you're looking for, use Voice Access to add it to your cart and check out. Whether you're making an online purchase or scrolling through your camera roll, Voice Access is designed so that you can speak a variety of commands and verbally tap on any text or image you see on the screen. Want to share a photo from the weekend? Start by saying, "Open Photos."
Open Photos.
Then say "Search" and describe the photo you're looking for.
Search for dogs.
If you don't see it right away, use your voice to scroll through more photos.
Scroll down.
To select a photo, use the grid function.
Show grid.
Then select the number that corresponds to the photo you want to upload.
Tap 6.
And say "Tap Share."
Tap Share.
Want to make a correction? Say "Delete" and the word you want to remove.
Delete A.
Or say "Replace" to change a word.
Replace great with amazing.
You can even use your voice to move the cursor or change your punctuation.
Go to the beginning. Capitalize amazing.
To see an extended list of voice commands, say "Show all commands." Voice Access brings a hands-free experience to you and your device. For more information, download the app by Google in the Play Store. And be sure to check out the settings to read help articles, send feedback, or update your Voice Access preferences. Want to learn more? Visit g.co/voiceaccess.
I really encourage you to play around with it. It's so cool to see that you can just use voice commands and click on anything on the page. But now I'm going to pivot and wrap up the AI achievements in accessibility section by talking about images and AI. A lot of the image recognition and captioning applications have really created much easier applications for users to identify photos on the page and get more explanation. It's also helped developers write alt text and add more alt and descriptions to their images around the web. There's also a lot of really fascinating applications like Be My Eyes and Seeing AI that a lot of visually impaired users use to navigate their surroundings a lot more depthly. Here's a really good video from Be My Eyes talking about this more.
I'm Andy Lane from Be My Eyes, and I'm about to take a journey that may change lives around the world. Vision is such a dominant sense for most of us. Our eyes feed us an endless stream of information, but it is somewhat different for me. I'm blind, so I've had to learn new skills and use workarounds to live my life without sight. I still think visually, but I have to build the images in my mind through other means. Today, though, I'm experiencing something new. I'm using OpenAI's newest model and voice-first interface to imagine the world through a conversation with an AI.
Nice sunglasses. They definitely add a cool factor.
Oh, thank you. What is in front of me at the moment?
You're looking at a beautiful sunny day by the River Thames in London. Right in front of you is the Tower Bridge, one of the most famous bridges in the world, with its majestic twin towers and blue suspension cables.
That's perfect. Can you tell me if the bridge is up or down at the moment?
The bridge is down at the moment, so traffic...
As the AI is speaking, my mind is building a visual image. I'm now getting a real appreciation of the majesty and scale of some of London's sights as they're described to me.
Tell me what you can see.
I can see the top of Big Ben peeking through the trees. It's got that classic neo-Gothic design with the recognizable clock faces on each of its four sides. It's such an iconic landmark, isn't it?
I can visualize the iconic sights that so many visitors come to London to see.
Is the king in residence at the moment?
Yes, it looks like the king is in residence right now. The royal standard flag is flying above Buckingham Palace, which is the signal that the monarch is present. How exciting to be there while the king is home.
Try and tell me exactly what they're doing right now, please.
Right now the ducks are gently gliding across the water. They're moving in a fairly relaxed manner, not in a hurry. Occasionally, one of them will dip its head under the water, probably looking for food, and then pop back up.
I even know when a taxi is coming with its orange light on. I think I'll hail it to get home.
Yes, I spotted one just now. It's heading your way on the left side of the road. Get ready to wave it down. Great job hailing that taxi. It looks like you're all set to go. That's a good dog right there, leading the way into the taxi. Safe travels.
Blind people around the world have rich and fulfilled lives, but it can be so much more difficult without sight. But my experience today has given me an overwhelming feeling of power and joy, and I'm so excited that other blind people around the world are soon going to have access to OpenAI's newest model through Be My Eyes.
I think it's a bit like a driverless car. It feels like it's a lot to take in, but then the instant that you do take it in, it just becomes completely normal. And that normality is like so full of hope and optimism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Oh, that's so cool. And there's so much more interesting things that AI is doing to make everything so much more accessible. I don't have time in this presentation to go over every single point, but a few additional things to mention are AI is helping to improve screen readers assess content on the page and navigate this devices and screens and websites more effectively for our blind users. There's also some really cool advancements in developer tools to help give developers suggestions on writing more accessible code, and so much more. But like any new emerging technology, there are concerns with AI. I would love to talk about how AI is going to change everything and AI is perfect and it's going to be so amazing, it's going to fix all these problems. But like any new tool, AI has its pros and some of its cons. So the first thing I really want to stress is that AI does not replace knowledge experts. AI can give really good suggestions and can be a helping hand whenever you're developing. But AI doesn't replace our designers and our content writers. It's really important that our content writers write the alt text and the labels and descriptions for our images on our websites. Not just to ensure that they're accurate, but also to help describe the image within the context of the page and the surrounding content. AI can give a good guess, but like anything, it really matters for it to come from our content creators. And then on top of it, AI can give developers some really good, like generic recommendations on supplying alt text or other attributes to make something more accessible, but it doesn't replace the need for us developers to understand how to write, properly construct our websites, and write good HTML that is accessible to most devices. In addition, if we're ever building out something unique or something newer on the web, AI can't really navigate those nuances of interesting widgets and new applications. For instance, this is my personal website. Sure, if I put this through an AI website generator, it could probably get a lot of like really good attributes correctly, probably construct my menu and the buttons around my page, because it's a generic website that's meant to just be for my work portfolio. But if we're trying to construct something more dynamic, like a social media experience, like LinkedIn, there's a lot of editing experiences, there's a lot of widgets, a lot of interesting and dynamic content on the page where you really need experienced content designers and engineers to properly construct the page. And even, let's say AI even made the content correct and was able to produce the right code, that still leaves the problem that AI is inherently biased. It's an inherently biased product because, as we talked about earlier in the presentation, the AI that's mostly out on the market right now is narrow AI, and it specifically focuses on solving very narrowly defined problems, such as text, images, and videos. But because it's so narrow and it's trained on a lot of data that humans produce, AI tends to amplify a lot of existing biases that we have within our society, like race, gender, and of course, disabilities. This has created a really challenging problem with AI, in that AI can, as a result, treat users differently, and not always for the better. There's also huge privacy concerns. While I was preparing for this talk, I read a really sad information about how a lot of times AI and a lot of large data metrics can easily re-identify users in protected groups. This makes it really challenging, and it enables a lot of websites and browsers to maybe even target users based on their disabilities by not showing them ads for healthcare, for instance, and thus shifting and really creating a lot of bias in the system. There's also a lot of proliferation of synthetic data within a lot of these large data sets. The reason that is because there's a lot of limited data about people with disabilities in certain smaller groups. So researchers, in their effort to try to make their data more inclusive, will sometimes pipe in synthetic data to hopefully flesh it out more. But if you're a sighted user trying to fill in data assuming what a blind person feels, you're most likely not going to make the data more inclusive, but just make it more biased and amplify a lot of the biases in our system. Overall, we need a stronger framework to protect participants whenever they're adding their data into these AI applications or large data models, to ensure that they have privacy and they're protected, and they're not going to be re-identified online. And even still, with all those other issues, AI makes mistakes. We know this. We know AI makes mistakes. AI has a problem with its confidence. Sometimes it's overly confident and it doesn't convey its limits to users, so users will assume the AI is correct when it's really wrong. There's also a need for accuracy with its results. It's one thing for AI to describe an image on a website, but if your AI model is trying to explain your surroundings as a blind user trying to cross the street, it's important that that AI is correct a large proportion of the time, or else it could severely hurt and damage people and have real-life consequences. And overall, a lot of users are overly trusting of AI results. There was an interesting data study that found that a lot of blind users who are using AI captioning systems within a video were overly trusting of those results, even when the AI said something that did not make sense. So overall, AI really isn't the answer. It's not the blanket answer. But there are things that you can do to make your websites and your experiences more accessible while using AI every so often. So here's what you can do. As engineers, please learn how to properly write your HTML. Most of the accessibility bugs and problems online are a result of improper ARIA tags and attributes and a lack of descriptions and labels. So really focus on writing clean HTML. Also, if you're a developer, I encourage you to download accessibility browser tools. I know I use AxeCore browser extension and Accessibility Insights, and while I develop and write my code, it can scan and identify any errors I have within my page. I've also heard some people say Lighthouse is pretty good, but I haven't tried it myself. But I encourage you to find one that works for you and incorporate it within your work. These tools aren't perfect, and sometimes they do have false errors, but it's a really good thing to help you train yourself to write cleaner code. And then if you can, please incorporate accessibility scans into your developer pipelines. Yes, again, automated scans aren't the perfect way to catch every accessibility bug, but it can at least identify and catch 90% of the huge issues that plague everyone around the web. Here are some automated scans that I've used in my work. Xcore, highly recommend. Lighthouse CLI I have not used, but I have used Selenium, and there's so many other tools out there on the web for whatever your pipeline or whatever your infrastructure you have at work. But the important thing is to incorporate these so you can easily catch accessibility problems before they go out to customers. Now, let's say you're not a developer, instead you're someone else within the organization, or you own a tech company. I encourage you to understand your compliance of your website or the products that you're producing. The way we make our content much more accessible is first understanding what is accessible within our product, and then once we know that, we can steadily make strides to make our content more accessible for our users. I also encourage you to hire accessibility experts. There's so many great experts out in the field that I've met within my career, within the fields of design, research, engineering, project management, and even testing. And sure, you might not have the budget to hire every type of expert, but even just having a few people on staff with the knowledge will help give you guidance on how to make your content more accessible and make manageable strides and progress towards an accessible product. And overall, listen to your users. Gather feedback, run user studies with your customers. Ask them what is intuitive, what makes sense, or what doesn't, and get a variety of users with different experiences to help inform your product. And overall, my message in this presentation is to use accessibility, or do use AI. I messed it up again. Do use AI within your product and within your experiences. But like anything, AI is a tool, so use it. Use AI to help streamline your process in writing the ARIA labels and alt text for images. Just make sure you're working with your content designers to give the final results. And be aware that AI is helpful, but AI has its limits. So just make sure you thoroughly vet your results and use AI as you need. AI might not be the magic answer, but I'm sure with all of us together, we can work together to make AI a useful tool for making things more accessible. Thank you so much. My name is Kat Johnson. If you want to contact me, here are my resources, my email, my website. And thank you for inviting me to the Netherlands, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.